In this video, I'm going to tell you how I would learn to code if I could start over. If you follow these tips, you will skyrocket your progress and drastically improve your coding skills. Let's begin. Principle number 1 is put a gun to your head. Sun Tzu once said, "Throw your soldiers into positions whence there is no escape, and they will prefer death to flight. If they will face death, there is nothing they may not achieve." When approaching any new challenge like learning how to code, there are a variety of ways to do it. Some people believe in starting slowly and slowly ramping up over time. So if these people had a fitness goal, they might start with a little 20-minute walk per day and then increase slowly as time goes on. And for fitness, this makes sense. There is a real risk to pushing too hard. And the risk is that you might get injured and lose months of progress. The thing about fitness is that it's not binary. It's on a spectrum, and any amount of improvement is better than none. But for some things like coding, this is certainly not the case. You probably want to learn how to code because you want to land a higher paying job. I mean, that's why I started coding. I had heard that programmers earn a lot of money and it's a very in-demand field. And if the reason you want to learn to code is to get a higher paying job, then your results are not really on much of a spectrum. If all you do is spend 5 minutes a day messing around in a little Python environment, chasing your tail, that's not actually going to lead to anything, and it's largely a waste of time. It is binary. At the end of the day, you either get the high paying job or you don't. And if you overshoot, there's no real risk. It's not like if you code too hard, you're going to get some kind of injury that prevents you from coding for months. The slow approach has simply never worked for me. I tried the slow approach back in high school when I originally started to code. I would watch one little YouTube coding tutorial every week, maybe mess around in Scratch here and there, go on a website, inspect element, change some text. Sure, that was all fine and dandy. But I made like 2 hours of total progress in years. And the moment I stepped foot in college, my progress exploded. I was in a difficult computer science program and it changed everything. I learned more in 1 week of college than I had in 4 years in high school. And this wasn't just for coding. Whenever I would take the slow approach, it just never worked out. During early COVID a few years back, there was a moment where I decided that I was going to become a basketball player. So I decided to pirate the Steph Curry masterclass, and I watched through a lot of it and practiced basketball for a few hours a week. But a month or two later, I woke up one day and realized that I hadn't touched a basketball for weeks, and I didn't even realize. How many times have you decided that today's the day that you're going to start running consistently, or you're finally going to start cooking your own food and eating healthy? And sure, maybe you stay consistent for a few days, but then all of a sudden 2 or 3 months go by and you realize you completely forgot. You made no progress. I started lifting weights with the slow approach. For 3 years, I would go to the gym when I wanted, maybe 1 to 2 times per week, not really have a set plan, and eat whatever I wanted. I did try and eat some protein throughout the day, but I never really tracked anything. And in 3 years, all I got to was a 115-pound bench. But then I got an internship, so I had some money come in, and I decided to hire my first personal trainer. And instantly within 2 months, I got to a 135-pound bench, a 1-plate bench. And then I hired a strength coach, and 1 year later, I'm now at 195 pounds. My progress tripled all because I threw away the slow approach and actually got some accountability in my life. Maybe I'm just a lazy piece of shit, but the slow approach never works. I end up lazing around and making very little progress. The fastest way I've found to skyrocket your progress is to throw away the slow approach and actually set some hard goals with accountability and force yourself to make consistent progress. So what does this look like for coding? Well, it's probably what you're doing right now. You're probably watching 1 or 2 YouTube videos per week, maybe working on a little project of your own, but you're not really growing and it's not really going anywhere. The opposite of the slow approach is the put a gun to your head mentality. Basically, it's about deliberately creating forced accountability and recognizing the fact that you and I, most normal people, are just inherently undisciplined. And if we don't have some sort of structure that forces us to actually perform, we will fall to our natural state and completely forget about our goal. We'll end up abandoning our goal in 2 days if left unchecked. So for coding, there are many flavors of this. And the most obvious one is going to college, doing a computer science degree. I'm a huge fan of this. It's actually what I did, but I recognize that you're probably not in a computer science degree right now. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching a video on how to learn to code on your own. You'd just be doing it in class. University works so well because you drop like 100 grand, you move to a new city, and you're surrounded by all these people who are doing the same thing as you, and there's a social pressure to perform. Very few people forget they're in college because it's their main thing. It's their full-time job to do college. A lot of people disagree with me, but I think university does an excellent job of teaching hard skills like computer science knowledge. But the second best flavor of this is doing a high ticket bootcamp. Just dropping $10,000 and consistently attending a bootcamp. Here's the thing, if you're already broke, $0 versus negative $10,000 is kind of the same thing. Think about it. If you go to the bank, you take a $10,000 loan, sure, yeah, now you're at negative $10,000. But let's say you put all of that into a high ticket boot camp. Now you grind for a year, evenings, weekends, you're working really hard. You're learning as much as humanly possible. Then you graduate and you go from earning $30K, which is the average salary, all the way up to $60,000 a year, which is the average salary of a boot camp graduate. $60K is the average salary of a software boot camp graduate. Within 1 to 2 years, you're already out clean and your earning potential is much higher. The thing about taking a loan is that you're betting on yourself. And I strongly believe betting on yourself is one of the best bets you can ever make. Because if you fuck your life, you will perform. If you go $10,000 into debt, you will force yourself to perform because you'll have this demon just breathing down your neck at all times. You will drastically improve your chances of success because you fucked your life. Now, let's say you take the slow approach and instead you save up $100 from your Taco Bell job and instead you end up buying a self-paced course. They have done studies on this. 99% of people who buy self-paced courses don't actually end up watching past the first lecture. I have bought like 5 to 10 of these self-paced courses. I don't think I've finished even a single one of them. You'll just have wasted $100 because like I said earlier, this industry is binary. You either make it or you don't. So it's worth overcommitting just so that you ensure that you actually do it. If you can't do a boot camp for some reason, then try to find a community college course or some sort of night class. And if you can't even do that, then give your friend $1,000 and have them only give it back to you if you finished a self-paced coding course. You can't just tell yourself that you'll do it. You need to come up with some kind of system to force yourself to follow through. If you put a gun to your head, if you sabotage your life for the completion of this goal, you'll be much, much more likely to succeed. If I were to go back and learn how to code, forced accountability would be my first step. Principle number 2 is to follow the 200-hour rule. There are levels to every skill. The first level is the 2 or 3 out of 10, and you'll get here within maybe 15 to 20 hours of practice. This is the guy who has spent maybe 1 to 2 months in the gym, made some newbie gains, or the programmer who has watched one YouTube course and can write some really basic code. Now, the problem with stage 1 is that you think you're the shit. You think you know a lot. I remember being that stage 1 programmer. It was back in high school. I had made my first Android Studio app, and in my mind, I thought I was well on my way to being the next Mark Zuckerberg. There is an ego to stage 1, and the ego is there because you're working in a vacuum. If stage 1 Aman had been put into a hackathon or thrown into a company with some real software engineers, I would have crumpled. I would have not been able to do shit. Effectively, I had no useful skills, even though I thought I did, because I never interacted with people who were far better than me. Ali Abdaal is a stage 1 coder. I love Ali Abdaal. I have learned so much from his channel, and he's provided me with a lot of value, but all he knows is a little bit of HTML, CSS, and how to whip up a semi-decent looking website with WordPress. Sure, his typing speed is off the charts, but he doesn't actually know how to code. He definitely suffers from the Dunning-Kruger of thinking that he's an excellent programmer, thinking that he knows how to code very well. If you take a stage 1 lifter and put them underneath the bar of an experienced powerlifter, even someone who has only trained for 2 or 3 years, that beginner will literally crumple underneath that weight. They won't be able to take it. The problem with being a 2 or 3 out of 10 of being in stage 1 is that it's practically useless. If you quit at stage 1 of any skill, you will quickly regress to 0. And even if you don't regress, you have not reaped the benefits of the skill whatsoever. Maybe mastery does take 10,000 hours, and that is largely unnecessary for the vast majority of people, but too many people quit at stage 1 without even realizing that they're still a huge beginner. You can learn the very basic fundamentals of any skill in the first 15 to 20 hours, but when it comes to highly paid work like coding, you can't just stop there. You have to get to the 6 or 7 out of 10, the stage 2. So what does this look like for coding? Well, to be a stage 2 coder, you have to have spent at least 200 to 300 hours studying programming as a whole. If you do this, you should have the fundamentals down, and at this point, you can actually start to be useful. Once you're an intermediate, you will start to become lethal. Employers will actually be able to extract value from you. Dude, if you're a stage 1 programmer, a 2 out of 10, there is nothing that you can do to bring value to an organization. Every senior engineer will be able to do what you can do in 1% of the time. There is no incentive for any organization to invest in you and take a chance on your development. But if you stick to one language, become semi-competent in it, study it for 200 hours, now you have some skills and now you are worth talking to. The thing about computer science is that its principles are very general. If you spend 200 hours studying Java, it is likely that you will pick up very basic fundamental skills of computer science, and then you can apply that to learning any other language in 1/4 of the time. I could probably pick up any coding language and bring it to the intermediate level within 30 to 40 hours, but it took me years to get to this point. It is simply not worth picking up most skills if you're willing to quit at stage 1, and this applies to pretty much everything. So for singing, I would define a 6 or 7 out of 10, the intermediate level, as being able to sing most songs and sing them pretty well and also have fun while singing. And when most people listen to an intermediate singer, they think, damn, that guy's pretty good at singing. He sounds pretty good. And you can get to that point within a few years of practice. I'm almost at that point. I can sing maybe 50 to 60% of songs pretty well. It's the same thing for bodybuilding. An intermediate level bodybuilder is someone who, shirtless, most people look at them and think, damn, that guy's pretty jacked. You don't have to be Arnold. You just have to be relatively lean and have maybe 20 pounds of lean muscle on top of your teenage physique. The intermediate stage of bodybuilding is actually what most women desire. Most women don't think that Ronnie Coleman is attractive. And there are so many street interviews which prove this. So it's worth putting in 2 to 3 years of consistent training to get to that point, because once you reach there, you get to reap the benefits forever. But too many people quit after 2 to 3 months in the gym. To bring it back to coding, invest 6 to 12 months of deep study into one programming language before moving on to something else. Because you actually want to be useful, especially when you're competing with software engineers who have spent years studying the same stuff. The idea that coding is just copy and paste from Stack Overflow or ChatGPT, it's a complete farce. Programming is a skill that takes years to develop, and if you're just going to quit at stage 1, it's better just to not start at all. Principle number 3 is to know your archetype and cover your weaknesses. In engineering, there are 2 kinds of people. The first archetype is the builder. This person has done a ton of personal projects. They probably spend their free time watching number file videos or fantasizing about learning obscure languages or frameworks. They know a ton of different languages. They probably have built really awesome products. They're excellent software engineers, but they don't know how to play the game. This is the smart, hardworking guy who's stuck in earning $60K a year because for the life of him, he can't figure out how to land an interview at a prestigious company. On the other hand, we have the salesman. This is the guy who's incredible at playing the game. They have a great network. They're excellent at finding opportunities and exploiting them. But the issue is that they don't actually know fucking anything. Yes, they got into the best colleges because they had the best coaches, and sure, they got into the best companies because they had the best network, but at the end of the day, their engineering skills are quite weak, and that always comes out after a while. So how do you know what kind of archetype you are? Well, think about what about you impresses your friends. So if your friends think that you're some kind of cracked programmer, that you know all these different technologies or frameworks that they've never touched, you're probably a builder. But if your friends constantly wonder how you seem to get interviews from every single company, or how you get a referral everywhere, or how you have such a crazy resume, you're probably a salesman. Literally ask your friends. They will tell you if you're a builder or a seller. The most important thing is that you must always be working on one of the 2 archetypes, and both are essential. You can't just get away with having one of them. And the best one to start out with is to cover your weakness. So if you're already a salesman, get better at building, and if you're a builder, get better at selling. I have always been a salesman. I have a YouTube channel. I'm great at keeping up an awesome network. I'm excellent at getting referrals to every single company I apply to and landing that first interview. And you're a smart guy. You can probably sense that my channel is a great resource when it comes to finding a high-paying job or improving your resume. But I've never made a single coding tutorial. I'm by no means a bad software engineer. I'm a pretty decent programmer, but I've never been the best coder in the room. But I sure as hell can coach someone into getting a higher paying job or asking for a raise. Both building and selling are essential, and you have to get good at both of them. And the best way to do that is to find your event. The advantage of an event is that it puts a gun to your head, if you bring it back to the other principle. The event for building is a hackathon. Sign up for hackathons, do a lot of them, and aim to win. I did 2 hackathons this year, and it's insane how much my brain leveled up. I learned a huge amount. When you do a hackathon, you walk into a room and you have 24 hours to build something incredible. Your brain goes crazy. How many experiences do you have in life when there's a 24-hour timer on a whiteboard forcing you to do something astounding? I don't think I've ever done anything like that in my entire life other than a hackathon. By doing a hackathon, you force yourself to engage with some new language or framework, and more importantly, you have to pick up the core principles quickly and apply it to something tangible. A lot of people waste time in the weeds of learning, but for a hackathon, you can't do that. You're learning something that you're going to use 5 seconds from now. You find yourself quickly scanning through some obscure documentation and looking for the actual principles that you need to use in 2 seconds. And the best hackathons are the ones where you're actually being competitive. Earlier this year in March, I did the University of Wisconsin hackathon. It was called Mad Hacks, and I did horrible. I crashed and burned. My project didn't work at all. But because of that, I had this drive to find the next hackathon, grind, and crush the competition. So for the entire next month, I grinded. I put together this dream team and we did a whole technical design layout well before the hackathon. We decided what project we were doing weeks early, and in our own time, we studied the languages. We knew exactly what we were doing, so from the minute the hackathon started, we were already programming. And it worked. We ended up winning 2 tracks. Every year, go through the list of all of the hackathons in your region and sign up for them, even if you don't plan to attend. A lot of hackathons fill up fast, so you need to get your name on the list so you have the option to go if you want to. Because of those 2 hackathons, I became a far better builder. The event for selling is the referral request. Stick with me here. So the best way to sell yourself in tech is to get and pass interviews. And the best way to get and pass interviews is to ask for referrals. Think about your network as a maple tree forest. So every time you meet someone new, you get their contact information, you plant a new tree in your forest. But having a huge forest doesn't actually mean anything unless you can use it. Sure, I can have a million contacts on my phone, but if I never reach out to any of them, it doesn't actually mean anything. Tapping into your network is like sinking a tap into one of those maple trees and extracting that sweet, sweet syrup. The 2 ways you tap into your network are 1, you ask for advice, or 2, you ask for a reference. Okay, you probably know at least one person who's better than you at anything you care about. I sure as hell know people who are far better than me at singing and far better than me than lifting and way better than me at coding. And I can supercharge my progress just by reaching out to those people and asking them for advice. If I wanted to work at Google, I could just find someone in my network who works at Google and ask them how to get there. Asking people for advice is super valuable because they meet you exactly where you're at. They can look at your exact circumstances and give you tailored next steps. That's the power of advice. The second way to tap into your network is to ask for a reference. And this is the real power of a network. It's the fact that a network expands exponentially. So if I know 100 people, I have 100 people in my network, and each one of those people also has 100 people in their network, I now have access to 10,000 people. Every time you're faced with a challenge, your first thought should be, how can I find someone who can help me with this? If your problem is figuring out how to do something, it's best to ask for advice. But if your problem is that you're on the outside of some organization or institution that you need to get access to, it's best to ask for a reference or a referral. To bring it back to this example, if you want to make it to Google, find someone at Google, ask them exactly what you should do, get their advice, but also ask them for a referral for the position you're interested in. I have mastered this process so well, I could practically get in contact with at least one person at almost any company. And that's how you become a master salesman. Aman from the future here. I'm excited to announce that I'm launching the first cohort of the Software Engineering Intern Accelerator, 8 weeks to land your dream internship. The thing about landing a high-paying internship is that the process is extremely systematic. What companies are you applying to? Have you reached out to a hiring manager? Do you know which leak code problems to prioritize so you don't waste hundreds of hours solving useless ones? And in this coaching program, I'll be working directly with you to coach you into landing your dream internship. It took me years to master this process, and I'm genuinely excited to teach it to you so you can use it to become incredibly successful. So if you're serious about leveling up your resume and finally getting that high-paying internship you've been dreaming about, check out the link in the description and book your free 60-minute consultation call. I'd love to talk to you and see if you're a good fit. You should fill it out quickly though, because spots are going fast. I'm only taking 5 people for this first cohort, and it's starting in February, and I don't plan on doing another one for at least 4 to 5 more months. So if you want an internship in 2024, it's only going to be this cohort. So move fast. Hope to see you there.